Hello everybody, this is Starman, and welcome back to Let's Play Betrayal at Krondor. Well, last time you'll remember, we started out in the town of Tanyears, wound up exploring the town of Eggley, such as it is, and I had been intending to head this way toward the Temple of Silban, but wound up on this side road heading toward Questor's View. And we are just gotten to the outskirts of Questor's View and found a young lad who told us about a fellow named Tad Questor who taught combat training. So, taking him at his word, I have changed our skills around. So Locklear now, we all have our focus upon melee. So, Locklear knocked loudly. Presently, a finely dressed man greeted them. As he wiped sweat from his brow with a silk handkerchief. "Fine day, don't you think? I'm Tad Questor. Have you come for a listen?" His eyebrows raised in a hopeful arc. "Listen?" inquired Locklear. The man disappeared into his house and returned with a blunt tipped fencing foil. "Have you come to learn the finer arts of swordsmanship?" he asked, punctuating his question with several impressive maneuvers. "I could give you all a quick lesson for only 75 sovereigns. How does that sound?" "Yes." "Wonderful. Oh, I am so pleased you have accepted my offer," he said excitedly. As Gora followed Tad into the small house, he was a trifle concerned about the man's credentials. After all, this strutting little peacock looked as though he'd never been in a fight in his life. Their doubts were quickly dispelled as Tad took them through the finer points of sword use. Though he may not have had much experience in the field, it's evident to all that he was a master of his art. He was even able to offer Owen a few pointers on how to best use his staff in hand-to-hand combat. The lesson lasted several hours, and they were exhausted when they finished, but all agreed the money had been well spent. So the party's accuracy melee ability has increased. How much? Well, Locklear had an 80% before. He's now at 87%. Owen now has a respectable 62%, and Goraf, who is at about 65 before, is now at a melee of 72. Get them back to where their main focus should be. So yeah, 75 gold to raise our attack skills, 75. Money well spent, I think. And never in. And we made back most of that money just a bargain. I meant to click on the place next to it. "Come in," chimed a courteous young woman in a brightly colored apron. She held the cottage door. Kneeling in front of a stone fireplace, a young man was placing several small logs to a crackling fire. The man looked up with a smile. "Yes, please, we just finished eating, but I had some luck fishing today, so there's plenty to go around." Locklear's nostrils flared as he welcomed the smell of barbecued sea bass and fresh bread still lingering in the air. "Well, it's a tempting offer, but I'm afraid we must be going," he said. "A drink of fresh water will suffice." "Of course, but won't you take some food with you, then? I could have Lauren prepare a small package for each of you, good for 2 days at least. She's quite a cook, you know." Well, rude to refuse rations. With a smile, the young man motioned to his wife. He moved next to her and helped prepare the rations, stopping only long enough to act out several key moments in a somewhat credible fishing story about a big one that got away. When they were through, they handed several packages to Locklear, who accepted them graciously. "You have been too kind," he said. Okay, let's quick check our rations quickly. Make sure we did not get any spoiled fish, which it looks like we did not. And that, I think, is all there is to find in Questor's View. So with that done and this part of the road cleared, we went back to the crossroads. Camp here. And we'll head back to the east, or northeast at this point, where we found that one little smithing shop. Weird there being two weapon shops this close together in a peaceful little hamlet. The way we want to go should be somewhere east of here. In fact, I think this branch right here. Yeah. North to Dimwood. Because this is where we'll find that temple. And yeah, this is that side road where we got diverted, I think. And yeah, it looks like there's something there, but Let's go and check the side road first, although... yeah, seemingly nothing here. But we know better, don't we, boys and girls? No, we don't, actually. There doesn't seem to be anything hiding in this corner. That is a pathway that leads to nothing. Huh. Ah, but here we go. The Temple of Silban, and hey, ambush. Well, might as well test our stealth skills a bit. It was an ugly mob. Standing in a semicircle, they waved angry fists as Locklear tried to smooth over the situation. "Look, I don't think I know what the problem is, but I'm sure we can work this out," he said calmly. "Surely we can come to some kind of peaceful agreement, don't you think?" Unfortunately, the mob seemed quite insane. But not so insane that they did not leave our magician unmolested. Luck, skill, nothing. That was just butchery, really. I almost feel guilty about it. Almost. Alright, so from here we have a path that goes northwest a bit. And this, I think, will lead us back in the general direction of Zun, and oh hey! More at hell, but we caught them off guard, and there's only 2 of them. I think we'll go ahead and do a Fetters of Rhyme on this one. Actually, let's go ahead and power this one up. Easy peasy, that one. And hey, they all have fresh rations. Alright, well, these guys must have been guarding something. Following the road. Aha! Up and down they go, but never move. Yo-yo? No, I think this one, a bit more medieval. Stairs. And more poison bolts. And a note. Well, let's see the note. "I am requesting that many Mortal soldiers as possible be moved in position into the town of Tanniers immediately. We are anticipating the arrival of Goraf and orders to kill him. Make certain he dies if he attempts to move down the eastern roads." Well, for all the good that did them, because we just came from the eastern roads, and hardly anybody was there. And yes, this is the pathway to Zun, I believe. So, to the temple, which is where I was trying to get to in the first place. A priestess escorted them. Expecting a chamber in keeping with the rest of the grandeur of the temple, Locklear was startled when they were led into a cramped room where an old woman sat reading through a sheaf of papers. Glancing up, the high priestess squinted at them but shook her head. You will excuse me, but I was expecting someone else, she said, laying aside the papers she had been reading. A few days ago I sent a summons to one of our faithful, a Franklin that lives to the north of Eggley. I doubt he would have been able to have gotten to you, Owen replied. We ran into a band of men just outside the temple who seemed bent on killing anyone that came up the road. The priest exhaled loudly. The Queegian fever is spreading here, and likely those were more men infected with it. If you were to go to him and tell him the way is clear, I would consider it a very great favor. Looking back down at the tracks scattered in her lap, she rubbed her eyes. You'll forgive me, but I really must be getting back to work on these. Please see yourselves out. Goddess blessing on you. Okay, well, we actually did pass by the Franklin's house on the way up here. That was the farmhouse that we encountered, that nobody was answering the door. And north to Dimwood. So we're going to go east. And a bit late to get here, but... Okay, yeah, he is asleep. So wait till daybreak. The door swung open. Good day to you, fine sirs, said the man at the door. My name is Franklin Hurley. How can I be of service to you? Locklear cleared his throat. We were told at the Temple of Silban that you might want to see us. You've spoken to the priestess, he said incredulously. I wish to speak to them of next year's crops, but 3 howling idiots wouldn't allow me to pass. You won't be having any more trouble with those 3, said Gorath. Franklin excitedly retreated into his house and returned a moment later with a pouch of coins that he demanded they take as a reward. Locklear tried to turn the money down, but the man insisted. They thanked him for his kindness and generosity and then left. Well, that did give us a bit of a reward, but that does nothing to solve the problem of what's going on in Eggley. So we will go back again to talk to the priestess about that. And it'll be another day's journey. Oh, yes, wait. Is north from where those dead soldiers were. Well, I need to rest Owen up anyway. Alright, so north there. North. North, Miss Cheshmocker. That's our direction. And it looks like there's a cave here, which we cannot click on, because let's move back the other way. It looks like this entrance is closed for good. Yeah, presumably there was going to be a dungeon here at some point, but they never got around to coding it. That's pure conjecture on my part, though. Anyway, a messenger went to find the High Priestess. In a few moments later, a tall, proud-looking woman limped from under one of the arches, her long gray hair hanging lank around her face as a plump woman trundled at her side for support. When Locklear hailed them, the shorter woman wheeled angrily. The High Priestess has been through terrible ceremony, she snapped. She has no time for Belandra! The High Priest jerked an arm from her assistant's grasp, silencing her with a cold stare. I am neither so old nor so ill in the goddess's favor I cannot spare a moment to speak with these gentlemen. If you are to remember the spirit of our catechisms, more often than the letter, I think you might replace me some day. Our place is in the service of both the Earth Mother and those who worship her, remember. Locklear bowed his head. That is very gracious of you, High Priestess, but if another time would be more convenient, the old woman chuckled darkly. Speak, noble one. Sensing that brevity was in his best interest, he quickly related the things Devon had told him during their visit to the stranger tavern in Eggley. When at last he had finished, a grave expression was on the High Priestess's face. There is no curse upon the town, whatever this man Devon may have told you, she said, but we share fault in this. The ritual of the festival was never intended like this, and now it has brought shame on this temple and misery on our faithful of Eggley. Never more shall there be a festival. Belandra gasped. High Priestess, the festival! Silence, child, she said, turning her glare on Locklear. I will also see this collector brought to justice. If you can find him, send him to us, with word that we have a reward to give him. I will see you very well remunerated for your efforts. Goddess blessing upon you. Turning, the High Priestess moved across the courtyard, followed quickly by her plump assistant. So we need to track down this collector fellow. Luckily, I know precisely where he is, but before we go to do that, I think we need to go talk with Isaac about his dark elf friends. Now, this is the paths to Hawk's Hollow. Locklear caught sight of Isaac. Whistling to his old associate, the seigneur motioned for him to join their company. "I thought you were off to meet with Prince Arufa." "So did I, but we've been meddling about here and taking care of a few of our errands. It's just luck we happened upon you again." "I shall consider it good fortune, then. So what can I do for you?" "Yeah, his spying." "We met your poker playing friend in Eggley, and he told us a bit about the match he played with you. He told us about the elven friends that came along with you, but as you pointed out before, elves rarely come out of Elvandar and be very unlikely to be traveling from town to town playing poker. Talk, Isaac. Why are you working with the Moradhel? Isaac, what are they doing in the kingdom?" "I don't seem to be the only one keeping company with them, Senor. I'm not in the mood to be trifled with, Isaac. Talk." "Seeing as how they've seen fit to dismiss me, I can't see it will hurt matters. They're operating out of a barn near Yellowmule. I found an old farmer there who wasn't particular about who he rented his land and harbored loyalty to neither his lord nor to the prince. A Moradhel named Nago moved in there and has been using his base operations to hire Quigi and mercenaries. Makes sense, mercenaries will be able to move in the kingdom without being noticed. What are they planning?" "I made it a policy not to know. Knowledge has a tendency to shorten your life, especially when you're working with lunatics. Think what you like, but this is purely a business transaction. They paid me, and I made the pickups and drop-offs to the Moradhel lock chest. That was all I did for them." "All right, we'll ask about Nago. You say this Nago fellow is using a barn as a base of operations. What could we expect if we run across him?" "Trouble. He's a magician, well-armed, and he was carrying enough golden sovereigns to hire several dozen Quigian mercenaries for months. Ro nearly fainted when Nago handed over a pouch of 400 golden sovereigns." "Ro?" "The old man who owns the barn. If Nago is half as ruthless as I suspect, he may have hired the old fellow to work for him, but I couldn't be certain." And last orders. "What were your last orders before Nago released you?" "I released myself. I had the feeling that I was coming to the end of my usefulness to the Moradhel, and I made my plans accordingly. When they asked me to pick up a ruby from Kiefer Alescook and deliver to a specific Moradhel lock chest, I realized they were planning to take care of two problems at the same time. The Moradhel courier would be an assassin. They had planned to kill me, and at the same time erase any evidence to whom the ruby had been delivered." And yeah, very nice ending there, given that we are talking to a traitor, but that is some very useful information that Isaac has given us. Although we don't know exactly where Yellowmule is located, it is in fact just north of Questor's View. Hey, that's where we just left. And yeah, I forget, is this the path to the Dimwood? Yeah, this is the right one. Alright, so there's the Temple of Silban. Alright, so now we have to walk all the way back down to 10 years. And there's the Franklin's house. And there's Eggley, and there's the abandoned armor that we had. And there's a little farmhouse with a historian. And yep, here's 10 years, where, if we go back in the tavern and go in the inn, a sleeping man glared at them. Locklear couldn't help but feel the man was sizing them up in some way, but he seemed harmless enough, so they thought nothing else of it. And, well, I thought we did it by going to the inn, but go ahead and talk about this. Locklear strained to hear. Standing near the entrance, bits of conversation coming from the table nearby were occasionally managing to fight their way through the ever noises in the tavern. "Fools from Eggley," he heard. Then another man said in a hushed voice he was looking for Stellan, something about unpaid debts, but, collector, maybe? And yeah, the girl who has the tips about trying to sell things in the right shop. Let's see. They noticed a shifty-eyed man. "No games right now, fellows. I owe some money to a bloke in the back room. I don't think he would appreciate me giving it to you in a game of chance." Noticing that the man seemed a little nervous, Locklear said, "Who is this person that you owe money? He's known by folks around here as the Collector." He lowered his voice until he was barely more than a whisper. "They say you killed a fellow in Eggley named Stellan. Well, perhaps we can find a game with you another day." Yeah, that should be the trigger that lets us... A sleepy man pushed them aside. Blinking, but unable to get one eye to completely open, the man stumbled to a bedroll in the corner of the room and lay down. "Are you the man known as the Collector?" asked Locklear. He sat up grumpily and finally managed to get both eyes open and respond. "What if I am? It would appear that you have a debt that has not been paid to you by an acolyte at the Temple of Silban. We just thought you should know." A glimmer of greed appeared in the eyes of man's. Suddenly more awake now, he said in a somewhat cheerful voice, "Thank you. I shall pay him a visit on the morrow." And we will go ahead and rest for the rest of the night. So, now I think we can go back to Eggley and things will be alright with the world now, but just to make sure that just desserts are dealt out, we will go ahead and head back to the temple first, just because there's a rather amusing bit here. A messenger went to find the High Priestess. In a few moments she appeared, her gray hair floating behind her. She greeted her guests. "On behalf of the Earth Mother, we thank you," she said. "The man who called himself the Collector is now in our custody." "What will become of him?" Locklear asked. "He will learn what it means to anger a goddess," she replied. "After, if he still lives, we will see that he is rehabilitated." Locklear shivered as he contemplated the future that likely lay ahead for the criminal. In the few instances he had seen a convicted heretic punished, he had been forced to avert his eyes. Hesitantly, he cleared his throat. I believe there was some mention of a reward." The priestess nodded. "I have arranged for a few healing potions to be given to you, as well as a small sum of gold. You will have them before you leave the temple. I must now leave you to begin dispensing justice on this Collector. Goddess's blessing on you." So, hey, healing potions and money? And, okay. Okay, well, we do in fact have room for it, but not bad, all things considered. And what's more important, the town of Eggley should now be open to us, and we can talk to the people there and make use of the shops there. Okay, so we can follow this pathway into Eggley. Locklear stood motionless, waiting for a response. Seconds later, a large, amply endowed woman came to the door, holding a small child on her hip. "My husband has chores to do. You just head on over to the stranger. Maybe he'll join you when he's through." Before he had a chance to reply, the door slammed closed. On the other side, Locklear could hear a man weakly protesting, "But, Butterball, I've never seen those men before." This was followed by a thwack and a muffled shout, then silence. And hey, more money. Okay, need a very special key to open this one. But that did improve our lockpicking abilities somehow. They were met at the door by a friendly couple. Trade stories. Nothing much there. And yet there are graves. And yes, a completely and totally crowded inn now. The dwarvish fellow having the knife story. Gambler. Oh, what the heck. Oh, but they're doing Pasha instead of poker this time. 250 gold for playing the lute. Come in and join the celebration. Welcome to the stranger. What are you celebrating? A new life here in Eggley. You remember how I told you that on the night I arrived something very peculiar happened? All the townspeople disappeared, vanished without trace. When they didn't come back, I decided to stay here and see what happened. Maybe take over the tower. Damn it, they didn't all decide to come back. Well, that's good news, isn't it? All taken, I think so. I don't know what the ultimate fate of my tending this tavern will be. Still, I haven't heard what's become of the tavern keeper, but while I'm here, I suppose I ought to act like one. What can I get you? Well, nothing much to get him, but yeah, congratulations on the rebirth. One way or another, it's been fun. I have no regrets how it's turned out. That's good to hear. So long, barkeep. Nobody's lived there in some time. The door swung open and Locklear found himself staring into the wide eyes of a small boy. Hello there, little guy. Is your mom? A new figure appeared at the door, a young woman. She greeted the visitors and introduced herself as the boy disappeared behind the folds of her skirt. After a short but unenlightening talk, she offered them some water. Owen bent down and waved goodbye as they prepared to leave the house, causing the boy to disappear into the house with an excited cry. So, nothing much there. Nobody lived there. So, yeah, not much to be gained by reopening Eggley, but don't you have a nice warm feeling for all the good that we did? Nah, me either. Still, a quest is a quest and money is money. So now, got one more bit of business to tend to. I intend to take the road west back to the Zun area. And we will start heading back down the path we were supposed to take all that time ago. Because you'll note, looking at our map, we have now cleared this whole area here of quests. We're almost here to Hawks Hollow. Actually, we need to go backtrack and... well, no, we will take the road back to Zun and then follow this way back down to Questor's View and then finish the rest of the way to Krondor, as the game designers and the gods intended. So here we are back in Hawks Hollow. And I'm also heading back this way because I want to see if they say anything at the Temple of Silban regarding that quest that we did. Even though it was meant for Silban, not Killian, but there we go. And yeah, it just repeats the same story about watching what you drink. And we come around this way, and we'll find ourselves back in... here's Zun. And yeah, we can't sell spell scrolls here. Get rid of that, though. Get rid of that ring. Okay, we can't get rid of the ring. Yeah, it's been a while since I fixed everybody's gear. See, so I got 14, 14, 3, 14, 14, 3, 14, 14, 2. Okay, so... Okay, so that has everybody's rations even. I can't actually buy rations here, unfortunately. I think there's an inn on the other side where I can. Oh, yes, yes. Go ahead and let Owen haggle, which won't work. Alright, so everybody should be set on rations at this point. Which should leave us well prepared to head down the road to Questor's view from Zun. And this is where we shall continue our journey next time. We'll see you then.